joining us again today. We're going to mix things up this time. I'm Adam Bartos, and I'm here with Josh Casambo and Joanna Rotter. And what we're going to do today is a little Q&A panel on customer service. It's a topic that's been coming up a lot lately. A really important one to field service, so we're going to be discussing customer service as it relates to field service. What we're going to do is I'll be asking some questions as it relates to unhappy customers, some of those common scenarios you find in the field. In some cases, I'll be playing devil's advocate and maybe challenging them as a difficult customer in a couple of cases, but they're going to provide their expertise on how to handle those maybe sticky situations in the field. So, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. So first question I have here for you guys is, as consumers of everyday products, you buy things, it doesn't have to be field service necessarily. What would you say is the most important factor when you're looking for superior customer service? What's something that you really look for?
Well, I would say what I look for is someone that's going to stand behind their product 100%. So I just bought a custom laptop not too long ago, and when I got the product, maybe like a week afterwards, they sent me an email saying, "Oh, do you enjoy your product? How's everything going? If we can help with anything, let us know." So that's something I really look for, that they're ready to be there if something goes wrong, and if something does go wrong, I'd want them to be prompt, be thorough, say, "Well, what's your problem? Walk me through. Maybe this is how it happened. This is how we're gonna fix it. And here's how we're gonna make sure it doesn't happen in the future." So someone that's just behind their product that way is something that I would look for.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I guess I agree. Kind of the first thing, and this isn't really customer service, but a superior product. So I do my research. I find who has the best reviews, find a superior product. But then, after I found a company that really stands behind what it sells, I do want someone with a designated customer service. So I love when companies have that little chat box in the corner of their website. Can we help you? Yes. Here's my question. That sort of thing. This isn't the chat box example, but Apple has their Genius Bar, and you go to almost any mall. And I'm not an Apple diehard. I have Apple products, but I love that I know that I can take my laptop to the Genius Bar and talk to a real person, and they have a designated customer service department. So
Sure.
that's what I look for.
Both great answers. It's a good start for what we're going to be talking about today. So Josh, the next one I have is actually just for you. Imagine you're a service tech and you're responding to a call from a facilities manager at a local hospital. They're responsible for ensuring that the HVAC system's working, the building environment stays comfortable. That's their job as a facilities manager. So the system broke down and you've been called to fix it as a technician, and you're greeted by that facilities manager who's very unhappy because it reflects poorly on him that his system's broke.
Right.
So arriving at the job site with a broken piece of equipment that you installed, how do you handle that?
I would say the first thing I want to do is to make sure I let that facilities manager know that we're on his side. So I feel like a lot of times when you sell a product to maybe a customer and it breaks, they're like, "Oh, well, here we go." They just got their money and now it's broken and now they don't care. So you want to make sure that they know that you care about what's happening at their facility. So this is a hospital, obviously. This is going to affect a lot of patients. This is going to affect their ability to get better. And I would want to make sure that he knows that we want to fix this so that things are going to get better for their facility and we care. So that's what I want to do first and foremost, try and get him on my side that way. And then after that, I want to walk through everything that went wrong and say, "Well, it went wrong because of this, or maybe it went wrong because of this." Just walk him through it, hold his hand the whole time and say, "Well, here's how it went wrong, here's how we're going to fix it, here's how we're going to prevent it from happening ever again." And then just kind of go through that whole process, give him a very clear, defined window of time when it's going to be fixed. And then after I leave the facility, maybe call maybe an hour later and say, "Well, how's everything going? Is it what you guys were expecting? If it's not, how can we come back and fix it?" And then keep on following up, maybe a week later, then a month later, and just let them know that we're there and that we're not going to just install our product and then just get out of Dodge and never come back ever again. So.
Sure. That's a good answer. I'm hearing a lot of full disclosure, consistent follow-up, kind of a lot of what you guys were saying in that first question there. Excellent. So Joanna, one for you now. You're a service salesperson, so technician / maybe a service true salesperson, responsible for re-upping a preventative maintenance contract with a customer. Your client is upset and pushing back because over the last contract that you had with them, some of their heavy equipment broke down twice specifically, and resulted in a loss of productivity. So how would you work with that customer to get that new sale after they're coming back to you and saying, why would I sign this new contract when
Yeah.
the last one I signed still resulted in 2 breakdowns?
Yeah, that is a tricky situation. But I guess first, so you show up to the site and just being a good listener, I think, is probably the most important thing, at least at first. The customer's angry, so sit down and listen, figure out why did the equipment break, what actually happened, and then you as kind of the service expert figure out why it broke. So they know how it broke, you need to figure out why it broke, and then that can kind of lead you in 2 different directions. So if in fact it broke because of something that your preventive maintenance visit failed to prevent, then you need to own that and say, we failed to do this thing and that's why your equipment broke. And then, as a salesperson, I would maybe say, in a future preventive maintenance contract, we would make sure to add all of those new elements onto the contract, so we wouldn't miss a step. So that would be kind of point 1. The next point would be if you go through the existing service contract, you figure out why the equipment broke, and it's completely unrelated. You're out in the field and a stone gets lodged into the belt and it breaks down the equipment. That's, no preventive maintenance visit is going to prevent that. So being able to explain that clearly to a customer. So not blaming it on them, but outlining, here's what we do in the preventive maintenance visit. Here's why your equipment broke. They're unrelated, but let's work together to, prevent the things we can. And then, as a salesperson, I would then say, we're a great service company. We already have this relationship. We would love to be your go-to for a break fix if something like this did happen. Maybe, give them a special deal or something like that, but kind of prove that you can be their go-to for all of their service needs.
Sure. Great answer. I like how you kind of flip that around to a more sales opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a couple things as themes: ownership, taking ownership, and providing all the information. That means you have to come armed with all the right information. So you mentioned
exactly.
walking through what happened. You need to be able to relay that information, which is important.
Yeah.
My next scenario is a common one, and either of you can answer this. You're a service technician responsible for a power generation installation, so like a power generator. You're forced to deal with a customer who is unhappy from their last buying experience. So not with your company, but their previous supplier really ticked them off.
Mm-hmm.
So you've done nothing wrong, but an earlier competitor has left them skeptical. So how do you build that goodwill when it starts from day one into a positive relationship going forward?
Yeah, that is tricky. I guess, first of all, I would figure out why the customer was unhappy with the previous customer. There's a reason they're talking to you. If they were swearing off all service companies, or then they wouldn't be talking to you. So they're obviously interested in finding someone new. So figuring out where your differences lie and kind of accentuating those. Josh, what do you think?
I would say that this is actually a pretty good scenario. I'd say that this could lead to a win-win. I mean, you know exactly what went wrong with the competitor. You kind of see what the competitor is doing, and you can sit down with that customer and say, okay, well, here's what went wrong. Here's how we're going to make it different, and we can really customize that package to them. And I would say that that's what superior customer service is making every experience like special for that one customer. So I'd say like it'd be good to have like a pre-planning meeting, something like that, so you can lay out the structure of how that relationship is going to work, and then I mean they're happy, you're ahead of your competitor. It's a great scenario, I think.
That's a good point. You kind of have a playbook to work with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Good.
maybe even giving them like a direct access to a customer service too, kind of accenting, we have this great customer service department, here's your representative that you can call directly, here's access to our customer service portal, so if something goes wrong, we've got your back no matter what.
Great points. Those are good answers. So now for a very common one. I think we've all been familiar with it as a service company or a consumer. You've missed a promised delivery or installation time. So your consumer's fuming because you did not arrive within your promised appointment window. In past videos, we've talked about how you can prevent these scheduling blunders with tools, but we're all human. These things happen. So what do you do in that situation? You're late.
I think the first thing I would do is immediately, once I realize I'm going to be late, I would call that customer and say, hey, I know we gave you this time window, but this is what came up, and we're going to be a little bit late, but I'll keep on following up with you. Maybe say, hey, this is my personal cell number. I'll call you every 30 minutes, let you know like what my progress is like, and just keeping them in the loop. Because I feel like maybe sometimes I've been in a situation with if someone's coming to my house to install something, they give me this time window, and I'm just sitting there waiting, and I'm not exactly sure when they're coming, if they're coming, like where are they right now. So if it'd just be really nice to just have that connection with the customer as you're trying to get to that location. Just let them know where you are. I think that's the most important thing.
Great.
Yeah, I agree. It's all about keeping the customer in the loop. So everyone understands that, you hit traffic, you have car trouble, you might be late, but, even if you had a system that synced with your GPS and would send an automated text message that said, Billy is going to be 30 minutes late because he's in traffic or something like that. If you happen to show up late with no notice, that may be irreparable, but if you kind of, like what we said earlier, if you take ownership of that and, apologize and, assure them it will never happen again, I'd say that's really the only way to resolve that sort of situation. But really finding a system that can either send those automated alerts or, just calling them up is definitely the best way to go.
Sure. Great points. I mean, just from a consumer's point of view, I think it's also important to fix it, so you're late. We all understand people make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I've been late for dinner at times, but I don't want to be known as the guy who's always late for dinner. So you make it, you fix it while you can on site, give them some feedback, give them some, expectation of you're going to be late this time is the new window, but then, next time you're on time and they can kind of move on from it. So those are good insights. This is one that's just kind of off the cuff. As consumers, back to that first question, not as it necessarily relates to field service, but can you guys think of a scenario where you were really ticked off, where something didn't go well and your service was bad, and they made some steps to fix it, like that you were pleased, and what was that?
I think this is a pretty common scenario, but with my current TV internet cable provider, there was a discrepancy in the bill. They charged me way too much. So, and it was nice kind of how Joanna was talking about. They had a little chat thing. So right away I went on the chat. I said, hey, this is wrong. I don't understand why this is like this. How can we fix it? And the person in the chat said, oh, well, this is why you're being billed this much, and we understand that that's wrong. We'll take that off, and your bill is going to be what it had been every single month, and we'll make sure it stays like that the whole time. So, really mad right away. You see all that money, you're like, this isn't right, but they fixed it right away. So, I'm more inclined to stay with them now. So I'd say that was a pretty good situation.
Yeah. I guess kind of hearing your example, sort of similarly, and probably we can all relate to this, but my dentist bill was way too much, and they didn't charge my insurance right, and I've dealt with insurance companies before, and they've always, it's always a little tricky. You have to jump through hoops, and so I went straight to the dentist, and I was like, I think that you charged this wrong, and they handled it so well. I think because they had, and we've talked about this before, but they had access to all of my information, so they didn't make me go look up my insurance information. They looked it up for me, and they said, oh, look, you are actually covered. And it was such a relief to just be able to call them, and they were like, okay, we'll fix it now. Don't worry about it. We'll recharge the insurance. And it was so great to have them take that extra step and look up what was covered under my insurance instead of telling me, go look up your insurance and then call me back or something. Just that little extra effort on their part made a big difference.
Excellent. Those are great insights, guys. Thank you. Well, Josh and Joanna gave us some great feedback on those sticky situations that your service technicians very likely experience in the field. One key takeaway that I'm noticing is that customer service is not unique to any one business. It's not unique to service, it's not unique to cable, it's not unique to dentistry. So it's common, and your customers will recognize good customer service when they see it, and even more importantly, they'll recognize it when it's not good customer service. So hopefully these guys gave you some good insights on how you can handle some of those situations in the field. Having all the right tools and coming armed with the right information helps a lot in those customer service scenarios. But in the end, that technician is your face of the company at the customer level, and it's very important. So they need to be a customer service agent as well, one of the hats that they wear.
Yeah.
So again, hope you got some good insight from this conversation from Josh and Joanna, and that's all we have for this Field Force Friday. So thanks again for being here, and feel free to tune in next week.